Logic clearly dictates that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Beware Romulans bearing gifts.
The Energizer's bypassed like a Christmas tree, so don't give me too many bumps. Khan.
I'm laughing at the superior intellect.
You proceed from a false assumption. I am a Vulcan. I have no ego to bruise.
Humor. It is a difficult concept. It is not logical.
Ah, Kirk, my old friend. Do you know the Klingon proverb that tells us revenge is a dish that is best served cold? But I wanted you to know first who it was who had beaten you.
I have been, and always shall be, your friend.
Hey, what's everybody? This is Ron.
This is Stu.
How y'all doing? This is a little bonus show that we are doing.
Barrel Age Flicks Small Batch.
Hey, that's a great name right there. I think it kind of fits the title. So we are definitely going to keep the same tradition as we do with the alcoholic drink. But basically, this whole podcast is without the core group. It's basically just like a smaller version, like a little, like I said, it's extra bonus for you guys.
Yep, and as I'm sure you guys can tell, Lenny and Tyler have not joined us tonight. They're at the bottom of a wishing well, stealing wishes, just like those boys from Goonies.
Those bastards. We're going to go ahead and get into the alcoholic drink.
Romulan ale. Why, Bones, you know this is illegal.
I only use it for medicinal purposes.
So, yes, we are going to be trying Romulan ale, and that's the one thing that's going to be interesting because our episode, as you can hear from the title, is all about Star Trek, the original trilogy, which is really, there's a lot more films than that, but this is a trilogy because it's a group of all three films, Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, and Voyage Home. They all are a continuation of a story. A great trilogy.
A story that started with Space Seed episode from the original series.
Really good episode guest starring Ricardo Montalban,
who was cast to play an Indian, not Native American, an actual Indian, who would later be recast by an Englishman to play an Indian.
That's crazy. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and try this Romulan ale. It's a cocktail that I made because normally we try a whiskey or we try a beer, but this is a cocktail. So because they do make a canned Romulan ale, I just couldn't get it. So I went ahead and made a cocktail instead. So this is basically blue Curacao, vodka, seltzer water, a splash of lemon lime soda, and some blueberries. So you willing to try this out?
I am, even though the color reminds me of Papa Smurf's penis.
All right. And there's little blueberries. Cheers, buddy. Oh, that's actually pretty damn good.
I taste the seltzer water a lot. Don't really taste anything else with the seltzer water to me, with a little bit of hint of blueberry to me.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I'm tasting.
It tastes... all right, you remember those blue Kool-Aid bottles?
The ones that like little barrels?
Yeah, well, sort of. And we had like a little plastic piece on the top that you take off.
Oh, those ones. Yes.
That's what it reminds me of. It doesn't even...
I can see that.
There's not that much alcohol. I mean, there's only 2 ounces of vodka and blue Curacao, so really there's not that much in it.
You made it very, very weak.
I made it the way that they gave me the recipe, so that's... If you want to add more, go ahead. But
I suggest adding more.
Yeah, put some Everclear in there. Maybe that
would definitely make it better.
So, so there is our alcoholic drink, which I'm easily going to down. So now let's get back into the movie. So I'm going to just say this. I'm a huge fan of Star Trek. You know,
absolutely.
I've been a fan of Star Trek ever since I was younger. I used to watch it with my parents every Sunday night. You know, a little kid. It was just the characters, the stories. They're just great.
Now, what got you when you were younger? Was it Next Gen?
No,
or
the Next Generation. It was the Next Generation,
Same
and
here.
then I kind of followed into the original series because you know, I was
absolutely.
young. But I saw the original. I remember the animated original series.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember those. And then I watched the original series with Kirk, and I loved them to the point where my parents always wanted to, see the movies that came out in the theaters. I remember seeing The Voyage Home, which was with the whales. Everybody talked about it because it was the one about the whales and, them going to Earth and everything else. Sorry, jumping a little too ahead.
George and Gracie,
yes. But the Star Trek movies have always held a place in my heart. I fucking love them. I even love the motion picture, which is the first one, which is everybody thinks it's slow and tries to copy Stanley Kubrick's 2001. But you know what? I loved it. There was a lot of drama in making that movie, apparently, and that's another podcast on its own. But overall, the trilogy that started with Space Seed, which we're about to talk about now, Space Seed is an episode of the first season about a ship that the USS Enterprise finds out in space that is from the 19th century, called the USS Botany Bay.
Yes,
with a bunch of it's. I'm sure if anybody you when you want to have the chance, you need to go see the episode because we can't explain the whole episode in this podcast. But it
with
introduces
Super Tan, Ricardo Montalban.
Yes, it introduces one of the greatest characters in the Star Trek legacy.
That would be Khan Noonien Soong.
You say it better than I do.
Yep, that's because I remember it. I actually had to do a deep dive just to make sure it wasn't some weird relation. So Data, the android from the Next Generation, his creator was Dr. Noonien Soong. And so I had to do a deep dive to find out if there was a relation.
Whoa.
Yes.
Is there?
No, there's not. So Khan's last name is spelled Singh.
Yeah.
Dr. Noonien Soong, his last name is Soong.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, apparently also, I don't know how true this is. This is one of those weird little factoids that I saw, but the creator of Star Trek, he had a good friend named Noonien Soong.
That's
so
fucking crazy.
He just used the name, which was a very weird name. But there is a kind of a callback, a little reference to Data's creator and his family's connection to Khan. Data's creator's grandfather, I believe it was, started messing with he got interested in life based on following on Khan and his people, the Augments.
Yeah.
And then he got shut down and stopped that, and that was a voyage of an episode of Enterprise. And when he got shut down to stop messing around with Augments, that's when he decided to start researching artificial life.
Right.
And which then passed on to his grandson, Noonien Soong, and which was named out of respect to Khan, who was obviously his grandfather's favorite of the Augments.
That is information that I did not know at all.
That's just because I'm a huge Data fan.
That's a good research.
Huge Data fan.
That's good research. Yeah, so that's probably going to be another podcast right there when we go into the TNG, Next Generation. Yeah, I said that right.
Yep.
Just want to make sure. But basically, Khan takes over the ship. He's a conqueror from the 19th century that they find out that...
Nope.
What, was I wrong?
Yes, the 20th century from the 1990s.
Then why did I say...
You said the 19th century because you're not very smart.
Shit. You know what? Now I need to do a punishment shot.
All right. Now that you got a glass of Devil Dog bourbon, go ahead and take that.
Yeah, my punishment shot. Jesus, the first one of the night.
And for those who may not have caught it from the first episode, punishment shots are doled out when one of us makes a massive mistake or says something that is just so completely disagreed with.
Oh, yeah. So back to what you were saying.
All right. So the Augments were something that came about in the 1990s, according to Star Trek lore. It was people basically trying to create what they keep referring to them as supermen, the smarter, faster, stronger people through genetic engineering.
Yes, and Khan was very powerful.
Yeah, he became the one who took over the greatest amount, all basically simultaneously in the 1990s during the eugenics wars. All these Augments basically took over the entire world at the same time, just different ones. And Khan took over the greatest amount of it from India through most of the Middle East and Southeast Asia, I believe it was.
Yeah, and there was a ship's historian called Dr. MacGyvers, and she basically fell in love with him as soon as he came on the ship, and kind of I guess she liked it as a powerful man. She liked his masculinity, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Some stuff you're leaving out, though. The ship, what's going on is when this eugenics wars happened, it took the whole world basically get together to get rid of these Supermen is what they keep referring to them as. A small handful of them escaped on a cryogenic ship. And so that this ship has been floating around since the 1990s, early 2000s, just floating out in space for 200 years.
Yeah.
And then the Enterprise comes across them through a very weak Morse code signal. And they're thinking there's no way anybody's alive. They be bored, and of course they see everybody frozen.
Yes, and the ship's historian is with them to the point where they take him on the ship, and basically he sees that he's awake, and he doesn't like. How would you explain that?
He plays it very smartly, in my opinion. He's not sure what exactly is going on, how long it's been, how much these people may know about him.
Yeah.
So he plays everything very close to the vest, giving out very, very minimal information. And then when they start trying to probe him for information about
especially
him,
when he's trying to go through the ship's records to get the
Yes.
the ship and all that to
Schematics
learn
and
the ship.
everything.
Yeah, exactly.
he does a great job of deflecting the questions whenever anybody tries to question him. Oh, I'm just so tired. I need more time to recover.
Yeah.
And the Enterprise crew being the
And Kirk
altruistic
is already like suspecting something.
Yes.
He's already knowing that something's going on with this guy, that there's something not right with him. And then they do the research on him and who he was and everything else.
Exactly.
And then he finally, with his strength, he's able to take over the ship. He puts Kirk in I don't even know what the hell the thing was. It was like
A decompression chamber.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah, and basically just tries to get everybody to be on his side, to join him. But that doesn't happen.
This is after he's beamed back over to his original ship.
Oh, and Gaze gets all the other crew members of his and
Exactly.
everything, brings them on board. And like I said, they all have, powerful. They're a lot more
They're
powerful.
strong, they're smart,
Yeah.
and so that. So, but Khan basically gets everybody to turn over willingly by getting Kirk to basically sacrifice himself, and then making the rest of them watch what he's doing to Kirk as a way to get them to submit to him, because they can all be brave together when it's their lives on the line, but how brave are you going to be when you're watching somebody you care about getting killed?
Right. So it just ends up to the point where they rescue Kirk. In fact, McGovern's, that's her name, right?
MacGyver's.
MacGyver. I don't know why. Get another shot for me if I have to, but
I'll
be okay.
enough.
But basically, she still has respect for the crew, so she saves, Kirk out of the decompression chamber, and she still wants to be with Khan, because then Kirk and Khan go at it, have a nice fight, and I'll tell you what, that's the worst stunt work I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, absolutely.
It's basically
That's classic Trek right there.
true,
It really
true.
is.
But I watched that and I was like, wow. But it's the '60s, I guess. That's the way things work.
Just remember all the fights, even the. I'm blanking on the alien race's name, but the one you always think of, those lizard-looking guys.
Oh my god!
And stuff like that, and they're fighting in the desert.
Yeah,
stuff like that. It's that super campy, over the top type fighting.
Right. So basically, they capture Khan. He's defeated, and they do a trial for him on what they're going to do to him, and they send him down to a new planet with his crew members. At basically a planet more of like a desert type of.
It's going to be something very hard.
Yeah, hard to live in,
because it's not a desert planet when he sends them down to it. It's
yeah.
not.
Well, no, that becomes in Wrath of Khan because of the other planet that explodes.
Exactly.
Right.
It's Kirk doesn't see a reason to, and I want to say he even referred to them as re-education camps.
Yeah.
Which that sent a weird little shiver down my spine, because re-education camps, that sounds very, very super government control, very bad.
Yep.
I'm like, we're using those in the future? That's kind of scary sounding. But
He basically, in my opinion, I think he was just putting him down there just to get him away.
But I think it was Kirk trying to do an altruistic type situation where he knows that Khan and his people, it's not fair to them because they were genetically engineered this way to basically handcuff them their whole lives. So he gives them an opportunity to start their own society on an uninhabited planet that can sustain life and it'd be tough. It'd basically be like pioneer times for them. They're going to have to start from scratch and do everything. So this way they'll never be a threat to the rest of the universe.
Right.
But they're also not being punished for just being them.
Yeah, and the thing is that she goes along with them. Kirk even asks her if she wants to go, and it makes a choice if she wants to be on the starship or go with him, and she goes with Khan.
Yep.
And even Khan even reminds her it's going to be very hard.
Yep.
And she still does it, which, in my opinion, I believe they do get married. I'm going to bring that up in the Wrath of Khan.
And it refers back to, and this is something that I found was funny. Khan was even talking about how almost basically the men of the Enterprise this time basically became pussies.
Yeah.
And so she's drawn to his animal magnetism because they were more
she likes a powerful man.
And powerful, and they took what they wanted back in the 1990s.
Powerful man.
Which just makes me think, what was when Roddenberry was writing that episode? I don't even know if Roddenberry wrote the episode. I'm sure, but when the episode was being written back in the 60s, and they were thinking by the 90s,
right,
all this horrible shit's gonna fucking happen. I'm like, that's not too far away from when you're writing. So that's like me saying now, by 2050, we're dead. We're all fucking dead. All right.
And you know the thing is
not that far away.
And the thing is, I think the time that it was 1996.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I remember Deep Space Nine, they traveled back to the 90s through time travel and through while, everything was going on and had camps and shit like that. And it didn't seem nearly as bad the way Deep Space Nine.
Right.
So it seemed like everybody was fucking poor and goddamn homeless. But it didn't seem like it was the level of the shit went down that Star Trek original series would make it seem like the eugenics war. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So basically, episode ends, and then 1982.
Great year.
Yes, a lot of good movies came out that year. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, 1982 came out. It was a sequel directed by Nicholas Meyer, and it was an amazing, probably one of the best Star Treks in movie history. Well, in Star Trek movie history.
I'm not even going to say probably. I'm saying that it's probably universally accepted.
True.
That this is the best Star Trek of.
You don't even have to be a fan of Star Trek in order to like.
There's so many references that people call back to, even stuff that they may not have ever seen the movie.
Yes.
But they recognize these lines. It's integrated itself into pop culture so deeply because it was a Star Trek film that you didn't have to be a Star Trek fan to understand.
And the thing I liked about it is so much different from the other series because it made it more like being on a ship, like a nautical ship in space, just the way that they did things and everything.
Absolutely.
I love the way Kirk was. I love how, it was Kirk's birthday and McCoy and Kirk meet up and they have what we're drinking right now, Romulan ale.
Yep.
It's great.
And McCoy gives Kirk the glasses,
yes,
which he eventually uses.
He sells.
And, hold on. No, he used in, was it? No, it wasn't Wrath of Khan. It was Search for Spock against Christopher Lloyd, where he's looking at something. He actually shows him putting on the glasses, and then he sells them in Voyage Home.
Yes.
So
auctions them for $100.
Yes. That one little thing shows up and used in all three of these movies that we're talking about.
I'm going to say this flat out. I love McCoy. McCoy's probably one of my favorite characters. I love his arguments with Spock. Spock is an amazing character. And
yep.
He's an icon in pop culture, basically. He's amazing. In fact, there's a documentary called Spock, which is an amazing watch. You all need to watch that. If you're a big Star Trek fan. It's also a great thing about Leonard Nimoy.
Yep.
But basically, Kirk is kind of like babysitting a crew of newbies, basically trainees. And Spock is overseeing that. Kirstie Alley plays a Vulcan. Kirstie Alley from Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Does a great job.
So Kirstie Alley plays a Vulcan, and she is going through the what's the name of the test? The
Kobayashi Maru.
There you go. That no one ever passes
Except
for
Kirk. He cheated.
Yes, except for Kirk, which they even got a commendation for outside the box type thinking.
Yes,
for doing it, which I'm sure they then made it against the rules to make it so he couldn't do it.
Right.
But he was the first one to do that, only one to ever pass up until that point.
And if you ever want to see it's a different. All right, I'm going to say this. I'm just going to bring it up real quick. There's also newer Star Trek movies that came out with Chris Pine, who plays Kirk, and they actually have a whole scene of the Kobayashi Maru when he's on the Starfleet Academy, and
which is a different timeline. These the Chris Pine movies,
but it gives you an idea.
It's a totally different timeline,
right?
They don't erase anything that happened or try to retcon anything that happened. Just a new timeline was created because they knew they wanted to kind of reboot these films, but they knew they couldn't reboot the films, because so many Star Trek fans.
Yeah, but I have an argument to say about Star Trek Into Darkness because I fucking hate that movie. It turned me off to those movies, and now I can't even watch. I don't even care for the third one. There's only one scene I like in the third movie. I know I'm going off subject here, and that's just a picture of the original crew.
Yes.
And that's at the end of the movie when he goes in Leonard Nimoy's bag. I think that's what it was. It's been so long since I've seen it. But back to our subject, what we were talking about.
So
Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah. So Kirstie Alley's character is introduced by going through the Kobayashi Maru, which is just basically a test. There's a no-win situation. People are dying, and it's basically to just test how you as a commander can deal with a no-win situation where you have to make sacrifices of your people and your crew, or sacrifice yourself and your crew to save others.
Right.
There's no way to win it except for cheating like Kirk did. That's how you're introduced to her, and she does a great job playing a very non-emotional Vulcan that's just trying to understand the logic and everything behind it. She does a great job.
Yeah.
And then you see Leonard Nimoy's wonderful Spock just basically kind of almost like smirking without smirking.
Yeah.
Just basically saying, listen, bitch, this is how it is. And I love that.
Yeah, no, it's a great scene because she fails the test, and it's a great scene in the movie. So then we slide back over to Chekhov. Chekhov is one of the crew members of the Enterprise, but he is off on, it's a vessel trying to find a planet for the Genesis program.
Yes. I forget the name of the vessel, but it's him and the other, the black gentleman, that wasn't in the original series, but it's the, what's his name?
Was USS Reliant?
No, but what's the gentleman's name? The buddy, the black gentleman that he ends up getting the ear thing with.
I believe it was Terrell.
Yeah, that sounds right. So yeah, it was him and Chekhov over on the Reliant. Looking for an uninhabited world. I mean, completely devoid of life.
A torpedo called the Genesis. And what it does is it takes a dead planet and creates life. So it goes by the book of Genesis about life being recreated. Not recreated.
It's named
created.
after
that.
But it's what it does is it basically rewrites everything on the molecular level to this pre-programmed set of instructions. So it doesn't matter what was there before. It takes that physical embodiment, that building blocks of everything, atoms, and just rewrites them to the way it wants it to be.
And basically, they find a planet. They're looking for a planet to do this, and they find one called SETI Alpha 5, which is
But they think it's SETI Alpha 6.
Right, and SETI Alpha 6 is the one that exploded.
Yes.
So,
which thereby pushed SETI Alpha 5's orbit in a different way than it originally was, because you no longer have the gravitational pull of SETI Alpha 6 there to affect everything.
So they find life on the planet, and they want to go see what it is. So they beam down, Chekhov and Terrell, and they find this like ship or something like that out in right on the desert. It's like wasteland. And they walk in there, and this is the part that kills me. I got to bring it up. But they walk inside it. It's like the inside of a ship, and they're going around, and Chekhov is just looking, and he sees this belt, and he grabs it, and it says Botany Bay. He's like, Botany Bay? Botany Bay? Oh, no. I'm like, wait a minute. Chekhov wasn't in the space seed.
No, he wasn't.
Exactly. So this is something that it's kind of like a blooper. I don't know why they did it. I don't know why they did it this way. But
when did Chekhov join?
Second season.
That's exactly why. I mean, Chekhov had become by that point such a integral part of the Enterprise crew. They couldn't not have him. They just basically retconned and said, "All right, no, he was there. We just didn't show him."
Yeah, it's funny because when Khan comes into the ship, I mean, they all come in these masked figures, come inside the ship. Or actually, they're about to leave the ship after I say the bond. We got to leave. We got to get out of here.
Chekhov is shitting his
pants. He's scared out of his wits. They walk out and they see a whole group of guys, all masks, and then all of a sudden it goes right back inside the ship, and one of the guys is removing his mask slowly, and then all of a sudden you see the face of Ricardo Montalban.
A much paler Ricardo Montalban, by the way.
With a
lot different.
And there's a thing where he's got this shirt open and he's got his chest all coming, like basically busting out. Everybody has made like jokes about that's a fake chest. It's actually his real chest.
Yes.
I've listened to the commentary and everything else, but it's hilarious how people have made jokes about it online. They think it's a chest piece that he's wearing.
I don't
make it
know
look like
why.
that he's all buff or something like that.
100% him.
Yeah, I know.
100% him.
If you see him in fucking Spacey, the guy's fucking built.
Yes.
Yeah. So, anyways, this is the funny thing is Kong says he goes to Trell and says, "I don't know you," but then he goes to Chekhov and says, "But you, I never forget a face." And I'm like thinking, what?
Yep.
Why? I mean, why are they putting that in there? Because he was not in space. He wasn't even in the episode. He wasn't even anywhere. He was not like 10 or 15 more episodes after.
But if I remember correctly, he wasn't like, introduced in a thing. He was just kind of put there like he's always been there when he was finally introduced into the original series.
Yeah.
They didn't like, we have a new transfer here. No, instant Chekhov. No, it was just this one day there wasn't a Chekhov. The next day there was a Chekhov.
Yeah.
And so I think that they were going by Chekhov was always there.
Right.
He never made it into any of the episodes.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's the way they did it. But I guess the director just felt like he was a better character that had to be on that other ship trying to find this planet. So I guess that's how they put him in there. But
who else were you going to put over there? You weren't going to put Bones. You weren't going to put Scotty. You weren't going to put Uhura.
Yeah,
all right.
I mean, I guess
who else are you going? And you're obviously not going to put Kirk because that would take away.
I know, but they could have probably written a different type of storyline or something else.
But you had to have somebody over there
that had to be related to basically the whole Star Trek original crew.
Exactly.
I understand that, but I mean, they could have fucking used what's her name, the chick that's always running around in the original series, the one that
nobody gives a fuck about. No, you have to have.
You know what? They could, but it would have made more sense than using fucking Chekhov. I mean, he wasn't even the fucking episode.
They just went ahead and always acted like he was always there. And so you had to have somebody for later on in the film, where they basically have Chekhov, and Tyrell basically fight that emotional inside where he's giving an order and has to basically fight that inside. If it was anybody else, the emotional impact of that wouldn't have worked. It had to have been one of the main crew, which was Chekhov by that point. Because, like I said, you weren't putting any of the other main crew over there. They served different roles and it wouldn't have made sense to have anybody else over there.
Yeah, it's just really interesting about Chekhov, but I guess that's just the way it is. So Khan is pissed off. He knows that this is Chekhov. He knows that Chekhov knows Kirk and everything else. And
Khan is rightfully pissed off.
Yes.
They were shot out onto SETI Alpha 5. Is it SETI Alpha 5? Something.
So you're getting mixed up. SETI Alpha 5 and SETI Alpha 6.
No, it is SETI Alpha 5.
SETI Alpha 5.
Yeah, it is SETI Alpha 5.
Yeah, and SETI Alpha 6 is the one that was destroyed that they thought that
exactly. And 6 months after they got jettisoned onto this planet, the SETI Alpha 6 ended up exploding, which thereby caused SETI Alpha 5's new orbit, which completely decimated that planet. It made it
fucked
completely
everything
desert.
up. It turned into a wasteland, basically.
Yeah, there was only one living creature left on that entire planet, one species that was able to survive. All vegetation, everything was killed. They had been surviving for, I know they said how long, but I can't remember how long, basically on just what rations were in that ship that they were.
I'd say about 15, 20 years probably.
I think so, but I can't remember exactly what they said.
But basically he said that there's the one animal that they kept that they have it inside a little aquarium inside of his ship right there. And it's like some insect that apparently will rub inside the ear. It goes inside your ear. It will kill somebody. It will expand and rub inside the ear canal. It tries to find an opening on a body and drives you insane. Basically, makes you.
No. See, to me, it reminds me of a darker version of the Hitchhiker Guides of the Galaxy Babelfish, where the Babelfish would crawl in there and it feeds off of your brain waves, and it also excretes other brain waves. So it's an instant translator. Is what the Babelfish is.
But it turns.
It's a very coincidental thing.
Yeah.
But the basically worm, this insect that's on SETI Alpha 5, the only one that was able to survive. It basically secretes this kind of like almost like a neurotoxin, but it doesn't kill you. It just makes you completely susceptible to commands by somebody else.
To the point where he takes Tyrell and Chekhov and kind of makes them sort of their, like, not slaves, but more
sleeper agents, basically.
Basically,
that's completely loyal to Khan and his people. And
it's a crazy scene because then he puts both of them and sitting them down, and he's going inside talking about this animal and how it survived and how it killed his beloved wife, which I want to bring up, I believe, is MacGyver's. Yeah, I don't know why I keep getting MacGyver's.
But I don't think he ever actually says her name.
She doesn't, but I don't know. It's gotta be. I mean, who else would it be?
But why wouldn't he say it? Was there some sort of right issue?
Well, it's just like the fact that he didn't say that Chekhov wasn't on the fucking. I mean, he wasn't in the fucking episode.
But by him saying it, I never forget a face. He's implying that Chekhov was there the whole time. So that was a simple one line implication right there. Solves
it's just starting to do the fucking argument there. No, I'm sorry. I still disagree with that altogether because the way that he made it sound like it was like he was right there in front of him. In that episode, he was in front of him.
And we don't know what Chekhov saw, who Chekhov saw, not Chekhov, Khan saw during his entire thing. They didn't have a camera on him showing his entire time for the entire stay. No. So very well you could make that argument. Yes, Chekhov was there, and he just never made it onto the show. Khan could have saw him. It's a lot of very coincidental type stuff that happened in the background.
Well, see, that's the reason why I believe that it was her, because the way that she fell in love with him.
Why wouldn't he say my beloved MacGyvers, or whatever her name was, Moira?
I guess because the writer thought beloved wife sounded better. Maybe that's.
I understand, but. He just, it seems like he was going out of his way to when you think about it.
Yeah, but I understand that. But when you look at the text, the way that sounds, my beloved MacGyver, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, but
my beloved wife.
But he could have said her first name. He could have easily said her first fucking name. It's like there's a reason they specifically didn't. mention
you know
her.
what? Her first name was Marla, so you could say my beloved Marla.
Exactly.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. I agree with that.
It's a weird choice.
I agree with that, but. Anyways, basically, it goes to the point where he uses them to get to Kirk. So they basically take over the USS Reliant, which is a great looking ship. Basically, almost looks like the Enterprise in a certain way. Just the engines are put in a different way. It's a nice looking ship,
which is a ship that's regularly reused in that name. Just like the Enterprise goes through multiple generations, the Reliant also goes through multiple generations. So in later shows, they do callbacks to the Reliant.
Yes. So then Khan knows about the Genesis torpedo, and technically the Genesis torpedo is, even though it is a way to create life, it's also a way to destroy life, because the reason why they were looking for a planet that didn't have life is because that torpedo would take away anything off that planet. It would kill anything off that planet. So really, when you think of it, it's like a doomsday device. It destroys everything. It destroys to make. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same way the atomic bomb.
Yes.
It was created as a destruction device.
Yeah, but
then it was reharnessed to create power, good things. But this was something that was designed with good intentions, but could have very easily been used for horrible intentions.
Yes, so
which that is actually addressed in the following film.
The characters that are working on the Genesis project are David and Carol Marcus. David is basically Kirk's son. Carol Marcus,
it is his son. It is
that's right. Carol Marcus is, I think, Kirk's girlfriend. I
don't remember that being addressed in the original series.
He was a ladies' man.
He was, but it was just
a green woman.
It wasn't. It was weird. It felt like all this, like going back to Chekhov, they just go ahead and write this stuff like. Hey, yeah, no, this is absolute fact. We absolutely know this. It's just weird. You would think you would have, especially with the age that his son was. It should have been, he should have knocked her up sometime during the original series.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with that. But David holds a grudge against Kirk. I never understood why. Maybe because he wasn't there or something like that. But
which was his mother's choice. It wasn't Kirk's choice. His mother's choice. He didn't want their son to end up like Kirk.
Right. So it goes back to basically Khan takes over the USS Reliant, uses Chekhov to talk to them and saying that they want the Genesis. They found the planet and they want to launch it. And there's like, no. And who made these orders? And he said, Captain Kirk. So they're basically trying to get her to.
It isn't Captain Kirk. It's Admiral Kirk at that time.
Yeah, you're right. You got me there. Admiral Kirk. So they're trying to get Carol Marcus to call Kirk because they're pissed off. They're like, why are you making this order for us to launch the Genesis, to take it from us? And Kirk has no idea what it is. So he calls Starfleet, and Starfleet gives him the orders to go check out what's going on over there. But the problem is that he has a ship full of recruits and, newbies and stuff like that, but they're the only ship in that area. So he and Spock make that decision. They, take that mission to go find out what's going on. So they head over there to the space station, which is, by the way, I didn't bring it up, space station that Carol and David are at, where they're doing it's like a science space
It's not even
station.
a space station. It's more of a underground.
No, it's a space station.
No,
they have an underground on the planet.
You're right. You're right.
They have, in fact, they don't even know anything about it until they travel down there after Khan comes on there to kill everybody and slits everybody's throats, as Terrell says and Chekhov says. But I'm jumping ahead. So Kirk and Spock, they have great lines with each other, and McCoy, and I feel like Kirk is going through some type of, would you say it's a midlife crisis or something like that? Or
yeah, I would definitely say that he's missing being the captain. Yes, he's an admiral, absolutely more power, but also with more power, you got more responsibility.
He loves the captain's chair.
Yeah, you don't have the freedom as an admiral that you did as a captain, especially a captain of the flagship that the Enterprise was of the Federation, and so you have a lot more rules and a lot more politics you got to play. Yeah, and that's never been Kirk's strong suit.
Yeah, so it's something that you see going on, and you see. That's what I love about this movie. The dialogue between him and Spock and McCoy. It's just I love all three of them together. All three of them, and it just talking just entertains me in every way.
Absolutely, and I love that by this time, Spock he's still Vulcan, but he's also still human, and you can see him make like little jabs and stuff like that. Like all the years of being surrounded by humans that's rubbed off on him, and he does a great job of making little snide comments and shit like that. Just being a dick.
And the nice thing is, you guys, if you're Star Trek fans, in order to watch these movies, you don't have to watch the original series, but I do recommend it because they are, even though they're from the 60s, they got horrible graphics, the campy sets and everything else. They're great stories. You just watch them for the stories, and they're great characters. And when you grew up watching those characters, that's why I will bring up the ending of Wrath of Khan, and I'll tell you how it's like dear to my heart, and it's hard for me to watch it sometimes, but they're just great characters.
Absolutely. And I think the reason Khan is such an important villain in cinema history is he's fucking understandable. Mm-hmm. All right, everything that he's gone through. And the way he cares for his people, he lost his wife, and he has such blame for Kirk for leaving them there and never back.
Checking up on them. That's one thing he brought up. He never decided. He never came over here to check up on us. And
they
see how we were
basically made
doing.
him seem like a newer Hitler with what he did when he was taking eugenics. But yes, he had he ruled with an iron fist, and he prevented most wars. While he was doing it, and there wasn't too much starvation, but people had zero fucking freedom. They paint him as this super evil genius guy.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to go ahead and drop him off over here and never again think about him ever.
Yeah.
And which thereby caused most of his people to die, his wife to die.
And his people are they're very, I mean, they I wouldn't say worship him, but
they respect the fuck
him.
out of him.
Yes.
They love him as almost a father figure.
But they also try to change his mind because when you think about it,
they realize the emotions of what he's doing is what's is clouding a lot of his judgment.
It kind of reminds you of Moby Dick.
Yes.
Absolutely. The whole thing is Moby Dick. In fact, he even says lines
100%.
from Moby Dick because he doesn't care what anything. He wants to kill Kirk. Kirk is
From
his
hell's
number
heart
one.
I stab at
yes,
thee.
His lines in the fucking movie are amazing.
Wonderful done. And because of how smart he is, but also so emotionally invested in what he's doing and understandable he is why he goes down in, villain cinema history with the likes of Darth Vader.
Yes.
Stuff like that people that you understand them.
Well, I wouldn't go too far about Darth Vader, but he fits in that genre. But
yes, but you understand.
I understand,
and you like to root for the bad guys that you understand.
Yeah. No, I love Khan. I think he's a great. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this again. Fuck Benedict Cumberbatch, great actor, but he's not fucking Khan.
Amazing fucking actor, and he did the best he could with the shit that he was given.
Yeah,
all right, for that role.
He was fucking shit. That's what he was.
You can't. He's a
great actor.
That role.
But I'm sorry. Some roles are meant for that one actor. It's like Indiana Jones is Harrison Ford. David Prowse. Well, no, James Earl Jones and David Prowse. I mean, I guess you have to go with just James Earl Jones. Is Darth Vader?
Yes.
I can't see anybody else being Darth Vader.
Yes. If you remember when that Star Trek movie was getting ready to come out, and everybody was like, "You guys aren't making Benedict Cumberbatch fucking Khan, are you?" Oh no. You fucking sure, right? Because that'd be fucked up if you make him Khan. If you're just rehashing shit, you have an opportunity by redoing this whole timeline. You can visit whole new stories.
And the thing is,
you're not making him fucking Khan, are you? Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, surprise! He's Khan. Fuck you.
Yeah, no. And I'm going to say this flat out. If there was no Khan in that movie, if the actor portrayed somebody else with a different name, like Max or something like that, I don't give a fuck any type of name. I would have liked it better.
Yeah,
I would have thought, that was a good movie.
Khan.
But they made it Khan, and they just did it
and then reverse the end of it.
Yes,
and where Spock and Kirk are just reversing roles. Which
that pissed me off.
It angered me because it did not justify.
To me, that was a fucking stab in the heart when I saw that because that murders the scene that's in Wrath of Khan, which is amazingly perfect.
Yeah, you had Kirk, who has been best friends with this motherfucker for like 30 goddamn years or whatever it is, and has built up that emotional bond, and then he goes and sacrifices himself to save the crew, and of course that's gonna be a fucking tear jerker.
Yeah.
Then they try to review it in the fucking new ones, you have fucking Kirk who's sacrificing himself, and then you have Spock who is a fucking goddamn half Vulcan who at this point still ain't in touch with his fucking emotions.
Oh yeah.
And barely knows this motherfucker who just went and sacrificed himself. And oh my god, no. Fuck you. You disrespectful assholes.
Thank you.
This was an earned fucking scene and you just shit all over it.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I agree.
As we go completely off the fucking subject.
I know we did, and we're gonna. That's the end of Wrath of Khan, but we'll talk about it more. But you know what? It doesn't matter. We had to get into that, and anyways, aside that, back to where we were at. So basically, his crew are trying to change his mind. Khan is so dedicated on getting revenge to Kirk, but his crew's even telling him, "We have a ship. We can get out of here. We can go find someplace else to live." But Khan's like, "No."
I'm going to make that motherfucker pay.
Exactly. He wants Kirk to fucking die. Or fucking just suffer, basically. Like he did. Like him losing his wife and everything else. So they get this plan to basically get Kirk out there. Yeah, so that fucking battle that Khan and Kirk had also, the first battle they had when they got to the space station, that was pretty. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, the first springing of the trap.
Yeah,
they left for him
because Khan thought that he had him, and they didn't, and basically then they damaged Khan. It just worked out perfectly. So then they hid beyond. Basically, Khan hid beyond the planet.
Yes, which is a tactic that's regularly used in future series.
Kirk comes over to the space station. Basically, him, McCoy, and Savick. beamed down, and Saavik is going. I love Saavik's character because she always wants to go buy the book, and Kirk's going along with it and kind of joking with Spock
except
about
for
it.
remember, she not going by the book. She made up some rule to say why she had to go down with him to arm, and that wasn't a real fucking rule. So she's starting to try to learn the way.
Oh, damn it!
Yes, you fucking clumsy bastard. She's starting to try to learn from Spock of how to deal with a human crew.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what. That's what I love about her.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we move forward, and basically they go to the space station. They walk in there, and it's actually one of the scenes where you see like the music and and I do have to give credit to this. James Horner's score to Wrath of Khan is amazing. It's one of my favorite scores.
Yes.
I'm a big movie score guy, and that's a beautiful score. He also does Search for Spock. The score for Voyage Home sucks, but we'll get into that in the future. But a scene where McCoy comes in and walks in, opens the door, and then you see a hand bloodied hanging. Basically, they just took all the fucking people, the other people in that space station, slit their throats. And then they find this, I don't know what it is, like a compartment or some type of shelving unit or something like that. Or it's like a safe, and it's beeping. So Saavik checks it, and then Kirk just punches it with the glass and presses the button, and the thing opens. Says, "Oh my god!" And there's Chekhov and Terrell looking all like dazed or something like that.
Yes.
And then they're explaining what happened. Like Khan went crazy. He was mad. He slit everybody's throats.
And they even say they were brainwashed. Basically, they even say that, which is a really smart move of Khan. To basically have them act this way, give away basically the best lies are ones that are shrouded in truth.
Right.
And so give them all the information, but make it seem like they're no longer there.
Chekhov and Terrell basically remind Kirk, Khan just wants revenge on you for his wife being killed and them being left on a planet that turned into a desolate, wasteland. So Kirk just, he's shocked. He doesn't know what's going on here. And basically they see that there's still some survivors from the space station, and they were beamed down. So they look down and they see that they were beamed down on the dead planet. It was like the dead moon. What was that?
It was like an asteroid or a moon. It was something small. It wasn't a planet.
I think it was a moon.
Yeah, and it was a
moon
tunnel system.
So they don't know where they're going. McCoy's like, where's we being beamed to? That doesn't even look like a place. And says, well, we're just gonna go for it. They beam down to the planet, or actually no, the moon, and they go inside, and it's like an underground tunnel with, they don't know where they're at. And then all of a sudden, they jump on Kirk to David and some other guy. I think one of the other scientists jump on Kirk and ask him what you're doing. And Kirk starts punching David, doesn't realize that he's punching his son. And then Carol Marcus comes out and says,
"I really don't like the characters."
You don't like Carol Marcus and David?
No, I don't. I feel like they were a complete plot contrivance.
It was just something they had.
You're supposed to be emotionally invested in them. They did nothing to become emotionally invested in.
Yeah.
It's just cannon fodder, just something for somebody to die later on.
Yeah.
And oh my god, I feel so sad. No, you don't. You really fucking don't. They were a waste of characters.
Right.
All right. They could have been anybody, and they tried to make them seem like they're important when they weren't.
Well, they were down there, and they told the whole idea of what happened and what Khan was doing, and that they hid down inside that tunnel, and then they were sitting there to wait. They were trying to get back up to the ship, but the ship didn't have enough power to beam them back up. So they were sitting there to wait, and McCoy says that I think it was McCoy said that he was hungry or something like that, or something
like that.
And then Carol Marcus said, "We have plenty of food to last a lifetime."
Yes,
which was turning into a great little scene where Kirk and Carol Marcus are walking down this hallway, and they open this door, and they see basically like a little paradise.
Yep.
In the caverns,
which was a result of a Genesis test.
Yes, a Genesis test. It was
which Kirk thought the tunnels that they were in before was done by the Genesis test, and she's like, "No, this took 18 months of Starfleet engineers going ahead and what this torpedo did, foot by foot,
and what they tested like one day or something like that." Yeah. I remember that. And it was really weird because the cavern was inside of a moon, and you could see like a little sunlight in there. It was really...
Because it basically created exactly what was needed, and it was told to create. It could create suns, it could create planets, it could create anything you programmed it to create, it created, because it took the available material and rewrote it down to the base molecular level, which were all made of the exact same thing, just how the puzzle is put together differently.
Right. So they stay down there, they're eating, and they're talking about, how they talk, just some, simple dialogue. And they're even talking about the Kobayashi Maru because Savick asked Kirk, so how did you do it? How did you win? And Kirk basically gave her, I cheated. And he didn't say it. David kind of brought it up because she didn't understand what he was saying.
He cheated.
Yeah, he cheated.
Kirk was trying to be all noble sounding. It's like, I know you're a fucking cheater.
Yeah, and his son just says, he cheated. He's like taking a bite out of an apple. He cheated. But
which completely fit Kirk.
Yeah.
100%.
No, I fucking love it. Then Spock calls him down and basically tells him that we have enough power because Scotty is an amazing,
I love motherfucking Scotty.
Best
I love him.
I like him better than Geordi. I ain't gonna lie.
Even in later series, where he actually told Geordi, no, you always tell him it's impossible or it's going to take you 3 times longer than you know it's going to take you, just so it seems like you're a fucking miracle worker. That's fucking Scotty, all right?
I love all of his crazy dialogue that he also says on how he's trying to fix things and stuff like that.
Yep.
So they're back on the ship, and they're basically on limp mode. They're basically like, they're not running on that much power, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do to attack Khan. So
before they get beamed up by Scotty, though, it's revealed that Chekhov and the other gentleman are actually Terrell are still under Khan's control. They were just faking it this whole time, per Khan's orders. Khan then gives the order to kill Kirk and everybody.
But Chekhov can't do it. Terrell, actually, Terrell couldn't do it. In fact, Terrell kills himself instead of killing Kirk.
So he fights the only way that Terrell could stop it is by killing himself.
Which I found that very...
I respected the hell out of that.
Yeah, that was great. So he kind of put his life out, but he, he respected Kirk in that way.
And then Chekhov was able to, because of the emotional bond, not only not do it after this intense emotional internal struggle, but he was able to overcome this alien worm in his head and no longer be under Khan's control.
Yes, and then basically comes to one of the best.
Which is why Chekhov had to be there.
Oh, shut up. I'm not getting into this argument again. I'm not getting into this argument again.
Because you're wrong.
Shut up. So Khan is not happy that Kirk is still alive, but then he gets to the point where he's like, you know what? You can sit there and rot for all eternity, basically, on that little moon, that little tunnel, basically.
Yep.
So he beams up the torpedo Genesis, and he gives his goodbyes to Kirk, saying how, so long, buddy, you're gone. I don't have to worry about you anymore. And then Kirk leaves.
You're going to abandon him there the way he was abandoned and his people.
And then Kirk gives off the extreme, like one of the most famous lines in Star Trek history.
The wonderful hammy acting of William Shatner.
Yes, but you know what? Everybody puts William Shatner down in his acting. It's his character. I like it.
But I felt like he toned that down in the films, especially in 3 and 4, which we'll go over. But I feel like he purposely toned down the hamminess that he had in the original series, and even at points in Wrath.
Well, I'm going to have to bring up something in Search for Spock when we get to that conversation about when we'll get to that. I'll bring that up when we get later. But anyways, they left him down there to rot. So once Khan leaves with the Genesis torpedo, they're out of there. They're going to use it as a way of destruction, basically. And Kirk and Spock, they beam Kirk and Spock and McCoy and all them back up to the ship. The ship is limped. It's not in full order. I don't remember. It's just minimum power and stuff like that. So then they follow Khan, and Khan goes into this nebulous storm, like in space. Like it's like it basically puts the
view screen.
The view screen, where basically it doesn't work, where it's all staticky and everything else, and they can't. There's no way of sensing where the ship is. Everything is basically through guess. And they get into this amazing. I see a lot of people would complain that it's too slow of a battle. But
that's how it would be.
Yeah.
It builds up the tension also.
Right. And they get Khan. I mean, Khan isn't smart enough as Kirk. Kirk is actually a smarter captain when it comes to this.
No, I'm not going to say Khan isn't smart enough. I'm saying Khan, he let his emotions dictate him.
Yeah.
And which what Kirk was gambling on too. Because everything that he had done so far was obviously emotionally driven. Yeah. And otherwise he wouldn't have fucking done this shit. If he wanted fucking them dead, they would have been fucking dead. Kirk made the better strategic choice by having Khan be baited in for his emotions.
Right.
Which goes against what the reason Khan took over in the eugenics wars was because he was so strategic. Even in Space Seed, he was talking about how he viewed everything as from a military view.
Yes.
How everything is a battle one way or the other.
Good point.
But unfortunately, he let his emotions get to him, and which led to his downfall.
Yeah, and it shows because they lower the shields down. They were able to get into the computer, and they were kind of playing with him on the. Was that in the first battle, or was that in the second? No, that was in the first battle.
Yeah,
where they lowered the shield. So I'm thinking about the first battle. Sorry, my apologies. But back into the second battle, basically they are able to get him first. Get Khan because they were on top of each other. Basically, they're both their ships in this storm, and Kirk took him down.
Yep.
To the point where killed a lot of his crew. I mean, the ship was basically in wreck to the point where it was, it wasn't going to survive.
Yep. Khan is dying.
Yes. Khan is, I mean, you could see his face is all completely burned. He doesn't care. He wants to still kill Kirk no matter what. And he's going to die doing it if he has to. So he has this...
From hell's heart, I stab at thee.
It's a fucking great
I
line.
love it.
Yeah. I think that's from Moby Dick, right?
I want to say it is, yeah. It is definitely from a book. 100%. I think Moby?
It's Moby Dick. It's Moby Dick. It has to be. Because I've heard that before.
Yeah, that is basically Ahab and the whale. It's the same situation.
Because the whale took him down also, yeah.
Exactly. It was... The whale in this case was Kirk. Ahab was Khan. And it was the same dynamic back and forth.
Which worked out perfectly in my opinion because, and the thing is that they have this device that activates the Genesis weapon that puts out the Genesis wave that hits whatever planet's close to, do its thing, do its its miracle basically hit the planet.
So you have the wave going out, but you still have the ship that Kirk and the crew are on,
which doesn't have that much power.
Mode. Yeah, right, so it can only go but limited speed. And
for a scientific approach, there's a way where they can get the ship to move. They don't really explain it. It has to do with radiation or something like that.
No, they do explain it.
Do?
Yeah, the crystals are fucked basically.
Right.
And everything, the warp drive basically has to be almost restarted.
Right.
And
okay, yeah.
The only way there's a time that radioactivity decays and stuff like that, and you can't get into the place where you need to do until a certain amount of time has passed, or else you're basically committing fucking suicide.
Right. Well, there was also a thing about the radiation leak too, because remember Scotty was calling on the bridge that we were having a radiation leak.
Yeah,
they sounded weak.
They couldn't get to what needed to be done because of that radiation leak.
So basically, they're on the ship and they're all trying to figure out what to do, and then all of a sudden, Kirk looks and
Spock's pieced out.
Spock is gone. Mm-hmm. And then you see Spock. Now this goes to the next movie, but you see McCoy down there because he's trying to take care of people with the radiation poisoning and stuff like that.
And he has an idea what Spock's down there for. He's like, "What? You can't fucking do that. You're gonna fucking die. It's suicide."
Yeah.
You're right. Let's go ahead and think about some other way.
And then he does the Vulcan mind pinch on McCoy, and then puts him on, and then he puts his hands on his face and says, "Remember." So it's like, what's that for? Like, what's that? Is that what the director was trying to aim for? Is they kind of added that in? That was kind of like an added thing to consider making a sequel, because this is something I didn't bring up. Leonard Nimoy wanted to die. Mm-hmm. He wanted to die as Spock. He wanted to quit Star Trek. He didn't want to be in it anymore. He basically said, "If you want me in this movie, kill me. I don't want to be in it anymore. I'm done with Spock." So Spock gets killed.
Yeah, he sacrifices himself.
He goes into this room to fix what needed to be done, and all of a sudden on the bridge, Kirk doesn't know it yet. They actually don't know that Spock is gone yet. I forgot to say that. They don't. No, all of a sudden, they have power, and then they're able to warp out of there and get away until
at the very last second, of course,
before the Genesis wave hits and everything else. They get the fuck out of there. And then all of a sudden they made it, and then they go to their viewfinder and they look at the Genesis wave behind them, and they see the planet being hit by the wave and starting to be created.
Exactly.
And it's a beautiful sight. And then Kirk looks around. I'm trying to remember what happened. Somebody says something, or Kirk just looks around and just...
He realizes Spock's not there.
McCoy, that's right. McCoy, because Jim,
McCoy, you need to come down here.
You need to come down here. And Kirk's like, what's going on? And then Kirk looks around, and Spock is not there.
And Kirk immediately knows what Spock did.
Yes.
He doesn't know for sure, but knowing the type of person Spock was and the horrible position that they were put in, he figures it out immediately. As soon as he sees that empty seat, you see it on his face that he's like, fuck.
And then comes to one of the saddest scenes, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be a fucking pussy here and say it. I get a tear every single time I see that scene, because I was, I grew up watching those characters. I love Spock, I love Kirk, and watching that scene, that's why the fucking Into Darkness, the Star Trek newer movies, they suck. But the scene where Kirk is behind this glass and Spock is behind, he's weak, and McCoy goes to him and says, he's already dead, because Kirk tried to go in there and says, he's dead already. I mean, Scotty says that. And then Kirk puts his hand on the glass, and it's an amazing, sad scene. It is. Seeing Spock walk over to the glass, and the one thing that putting his hand in the glass is, you have always been my friend.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. And it's a touching scene, and Kirk is...
that to me was...
Because Kirk is like lost something.
That was the most important live long and prosper, the Vulcan basically peace sign. That it happened at any time. That was the most appropriate use of it. You can tell Spock, as his lifelong friend,
yes,
is wanting Kirk to actually live long and prosper. His sacrifice actually means something.
And he sacrificed everything for that, for the crew, for the bridge, for Kirk, for everybody. And it's a powerful scene.
Exactly.
It was filmed perfectly.
Something
I loved
so
it.
emotional.
I thought Kirk did a great job in his acting too. I mean, it really showed.
Yeah.
Because then you see Kirk just lean against the back of the glass and just looking down like he just lost something in his life. Like he lost a part of his life. And it's beautiful and sad, and it's a good scene.
And
I'm
followed
sorry.
up by that wonderful funeral, and then shot off. The body shot off into space.
Yeah.
Which I can't remember if they did that in the original series ever. If they showed them shooting off bodies into space, or
I don't know. I don't think so. I have
remember.
to.
I do know in future series that was something semi-regular.
In a way, think of it as a nautical. Whenever somebody's died on the ship, they launch them into sea. They drop them into sea. So it's basically the same way.
But I don't remember them ever showing like red shirts being fucking launched out in the goddamn space.
Well, he was also a very important, character. I wouldn't say character.
Yeah.
He was, but I'm talking about like he was a very high ranked.
He was, but like also like Tasha Yar in Next Gen, she wasn't that high of a rank. She was she was a bridge officer, absolutely, but she wasn't. She was a lieutenant still. That's all. Yeah. And not even like a high lieutenant. It was just fucking lieutenant security chief. But she also had that little memorial and shotting off to space and stuff like that. But it was. Like I said, I just don't remember. I can't remember. This is the first time they actually showed what they do with the dead.
Yeah,
in space. Well, it was just assumed. I think, but I can't. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, you got a point, because if they had a lot of crew members die, like 10 or 15,
which they had a lot of fucking people die.
Yeah, I'm sure. Because there was a lot of people that radiated, because they had. In fact, I didn't even bring that up. There was a scene after their first battle with Khan, where a whole bunch of the newbies, they did their best, but there was so many injured inside McCoy's Bay, and there was a kid that actually went to Kirk and held his hand. Did we do we did what we needed to do? There's the what was
I'm
it?
just trying to think, if this is what they do with the bodies all the fucking time. Just from the Enterprise alone, that's a lot of fucking floating caskets out there in goddamn space. Can you imagine just flying around at warp 4 or whatever, and all of a sudden, boom! Just fucking you hit a goddamn corpse.
I didn't even think about that.
All over the place.
No, but maybe they just launched them into the planet like they did with Spock, because you're
not always near a planet though.
That's true. They could have, yeah, you got a point there. I guess they just launched it right into space, which means sometime down like 20 or 30 years down the road.
Bodies, and then you can't even predict where these fucking corpses are going to float to. So fucking, you could go to another alien planet that hasn't been fucking exploded, and this fucker comes in like a goddamn meteorite and just crashes. All right, then they come across this weird alien body. Like, what the fuck is this?
You know what? I'm for some reason I'm getting a vision of the Borg cube all of a sudden just flying through space, and then just a little coffin just smacking right into it.
Yeah, it's something that I think is a very unsafe way. Especially, I think I can see so many violations of the Prime Directive happening with just bodies,
Yeah.
and then you also have basically the shell of a torpedo. You know, it's like, so it has some tech on it already.
Yeah.
So you can be influencing, the growth of a primitive world potentially. Right. But I just never really thought that bodies that's floating around is a really good way to do it.
Yeah.
I understand nautical, launch at sea, but you ain't got to worry about a fucking casket crashing into you when you're traveling fucking 3 times the speed of light.
Yeah.
All right.
No, you got a good point there. So we get to the ending, and they launch his coffin right into the Genesis planet, and of course, the Genesis planet,
which it isn't a planet at the time.
It's like a big
a cloud of matter that's forming.
Yeah, it's like doing its thing. Basically, it's like all you can see. It's just all fire and brimstone. Yeah, and basically just like turning into paradise, basically.
Yes.
But it's not there yet. And they basically say their goodbyes, and that's the end of the movie. Kirk basically says that we go on, we move on. Spock is forever going to be remembered, and then that's the end of the movie.
Absolutely.
And to me, it's one of the most. Of course, Khan dies. I mean, he basically tries to kill.
He dies right after he launched it, so he doesn't even get to see what the end result of his actions were.
So basically, he's thinking to himself, I know that Kirk is going to die, so I might as well be happy.
Yeah,
but he has no idea
in his mind that there's any escaping what he's about to do.
So he lost.
Yep.
To his mind, he won dying, but he technically lost.
He did. But that's a good way to go. You think that you're taking down your fucking enemy with you?
Hey, that's a good point.
And you die with that on your mind, that at least I took this fucker with me.
Yeah.
Does it lessen what you've done just because you failed? But if you don't know that you failed, does it lessen it? I don't think so.
So join us next time for our next bonus episode that we will probably be doing. It will be coming out right after our upcoming Fight Club episode. I hope you guys are excited about that. Are you excited about that?
I am super excited about
that. Oh, yeah. Lenny and Tyler and me and Stu are going to be going down.
I'm moist.
So that will be the next episode, and then you will join us for our next bonus episode for Search for Spock and Voyage Home. So long, guys.